I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we're going to start our meeting with a presentation by Jamie Cox of the United Way of Northern New York. Jamie, you're on.
So I'm Jamie Cox. I'm the CEO of United Way of Northern New York. I live out on Point Salubrious. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. Mrs. Morrison really wanted me to talk to you this evening about the ALICE program and what we're trying to do with Lyme CSD. So I'll step through some slides real quick. You know, our world is significantly different today than it was a year ago in terms of the social safety net system. And it's very, very clear that there's more federal money right now going for SNAP food stamps or rental assistance and utility assistance. And what that means is that United Way and other organizations can on a different level of care for communities. One of the things that I always take into account is the social vulnerability index. This is a real-time 15 different variables measurement of what's taking place in our communities. When you take those 15 variables, more importantly, and you put it onto a map, on the left-hand side, you can see in red and green, that's red is vulnerable population, green is not vulnerable. And then over on the map, it's by zip code. You see that Lyme CSD I put into black there. But more importantly, we know that we have some vulnerable residents who live in our area. It's not as dark red as some portions of St. Lawrence County, but we know that we have some vulnerable residents who perhaps low income or face other significant challenges with regards to employment. Ladies and gentlemen, the ALICE program, ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. It is an acronym that the United Way Worldwide came up with about 15 years ago as a way of describing families who live above the federal poverty line, but below or at the cost of living for the region that they live in. And the way to think about these families, they're the ones that we know that live paycheck to paycheck. And one small financial hiccup creates a significant barrier that comes up in their life. So beginning this semester, the United Way has partnered with 36 school districts in the Tri-County area. We've got SUNY Canton and Jefferson Community College. We've got about 10 for-profit businesses and then about a dozen different nonprofits, and they are our ALICE facilitators. And that's what we're really doing with Lyme CSD, empowering the school's leadership, the guidance counselor, the psychologists, the social workers, that when they see a problem, they can solve a problem. And most importantly here, it is a sense of urgency. We see too many families suffering and the children suffering, whether it be because they don't have a winter coat or because the furnace is broken at home. And we know that those children can't in that environment if it's taking place at home. So what does ALICE look like at a school? Like I said, 34 out of 36 school districts. Number one is we know that schools are the focal point of community and they see and hear problems long before the social safety net does. And so whether it be because of a child's behavior or a child's words, or we know that in very small places where we live like Lyme and Chameau, that you have relationships with those families. They're your neighbors. You know what's happening with them. So you see what's going on long before anybody in Watertown that works for a nonprofit. By giving the school the power of ALICE, and I'll use an example. We had a 4th grade young lady tell her teacher multiple times over a week that she wasn't sleeping well. And the teacher kept pulling the string only to find out that that child's window in their bedroom was broken and that child was freezing cold at night and not sleeping well. By simply understanding what was going on and reaching out to that family, the school then worked with the family and the United Way to get a contractor out there, get the window replaced in one day, and the problem was solved. So our goal is really to expedite how fast problems are spotted in a community, and then solved inside of that community without involving a very slow, untimely process called the government's social safety net system. Since the first week of September of this year, we've had over 200 cases. And here's some examples that specifically come out of different school districts. If you have parents, and obviously they need to work to put a roof over their head, put food on the family's table, we've fixed probably about 30 different vehicles to ensure that those parents can stay employed, that they don't lose their employment. We've replaced furnaces on homes. Again, they went to the Department of Social Services and were told that they didn't qualify for any type of assistance because they were working, and that's almost punitive. So the ALICE program picked up that family and replaced a $3,000 furnace. I can tell you that every day of the week, my staff is getting requests in from at least a dozen or more school districts for clothes, shoes, boots, winter wear. We know that your schools have clothing closets. We know that people donate coats that their children have outgrown, but we also know that your clothing closets don't have every size and every color for every gender of child. So we're able to respond by clicking send or submit or purchase on Walmart.com or Amazon.Prime.com. And 2 days later, that school and those children or those families have what they need. ALICE is not just for the students and the students' families. We know that school districts have ALICE working for them. Typically, they work in the cafeteria, they're bus drivers, they're buildings and grounds. So now your schools, the leadership of your school, have a tool that they can use with their own employees. I can think of 3 school employees that we've helped in the past week off the top of my head. One was a gentleman working building grounds at a small school district. He needed new tires to keep coming to work. We bought those. We had a brand new school employee. She was just hired, but couldn't afford the $102 for fingerprints. $102 is chump change when it comes to watching somebody become employed and being able to take care of themselves. So we covered that. We've covered everything from a family out at Sackett's CSD where the child needed a full mental health assessment that the insurance didn't cover, and that was $1,200. We bought multiple pairs of eyeglasses for students whose parents can't afford an updated prescription right now. We've repaired laptops, we've repaired roofs on houses. And so I give you all this because we know that Mrs. Morrison and her faculty and her administrators see and hear things long before any of us do. And if we can address those problems right there on the spot, we're stopping the suffering. And it's physical and it's mental, and we can bring it to a stop very quickly. You know, being with the United for the past 2.5 years in a severe community, we've really taken the stance that talking about hunger, talking about clothing and eyewear, we don't have to talk about them anymore. Those are done issues that we can empower the schools to handle, and it's over with. And instead, we can really focus on mental health care and bringing tools into our school that are more beneficial either for the children that go there, the employees that work there, or the residents of the school district who live in that town or in that school district. If you want to learn more, and obviously the way the United Way does it is we work with the superintendents, they sign an MOU, then we do ALICE training with all the facilitators in the school. So typically Lyme CSD would probably be the school nurse, the psychologist, and the multiple guidance counselor. And once they have that training, literally they have a magic wand that anything $300 and below, they don't even have to ask our permission. They just put the solution into action, and the United Way plugs in the hole for where the cash goes. Anything over $300, all it takes is prior coordination, which is a text or an email or a phone call to United Way for us to collaborate on the solution. There are no strings attached. There's nothing else involved other than the United Way utilizing your relationship at the school to solve problems in your community. And I'll stop there to see if you have any questions. No questions? And I'm not hearing anything, so I've got my speakers up. Okay, no questions. Thank you for your time tonight.
scholarships for teachers to down at the end of the year. Okay.
This is a nominal program, and so currently our guidance counselor and CSE chair are the ones that really are facilitators of that. I sat through the training as well, but they're the ones that have access to the children and they hear those things. It's something that really we have not had in the past. So that very quick access to those funds, we do have resources like some of our title grants. Mrs. Gibbons is great about having some emergency funds that we can utilize for homeless students or any number of eyeglasses, those kinds of things. But that is a process. It's a process to get that underway. United States that we can get the funds immediately. So
it's my understanding, in order to get those funds,
well, it's kind of an onboarding, so that you know the process. But once they have done that, which ours have, once they've done that, $300 and below, it's something they just they just it's sort of a one-page little information. It's all confidential.
there's no limit for families. If the family had a furnace break and then the fire, is there any limit that they can't get more than 300 or anything?
No, and actually 300 is not.
It's just a limit you guys can do on your own.
Right, but then, as Jamie said, we just send in a text or a quick email, and it's usually a very fast and then, a couple of hours turnaround time. Regarding how, I've heard of them actually making the appointment for the individual to take their car and to get the entire form and such. So it's really, it's very fast. So it's fabulous.
If you want to create or whatever,
Absolutely.
Actually, I just spoke to someone the other day. Do you know about the ALEC project? There's some really good help from our students. I have, but I didn't, he explained it very well as far as some of the options.
Yeah, well, we had just talked about the fingerprinting being an issue. If you have to come up with $100 and you don't yet have a job, or you might need to get some new clothes or something. All of those things would be seen as appropriate, and that was once we heard that in the training, we were really excited about that too.
All right, so I have, going down to the consent agenda, do your any questions yet?
Sorry. I just wanted to address the revised 2021 tax collectors report. I just have a little narrative from Heather here. So the tax collectors report and taxes remaining unpaid report had to be updated. It had to be updated because the county accepted and posted a payment prior to the taxes being turned over to them. So the payment should have been forwarded to us to process, but they processed it instead. So it's an adjustment of about $494 to both reports. So we just wanted to get that reapproved for us to send it over to the county. And then I'll pass this around to sign at the end.
Any other questions for the warrant or anything for Ariel? Looks good. All right, do I hear a motion for approval of the consent agenda? Do I hear a second? Lynn, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion passed. Moving down to public comment. Ongoing agenda items, not at this time, board information here. Any events, looks like we still have a lot of events going on, so that's great. Right, moving up to number 4, action is requested to approve the assistant superintendent as a lead evaluator. She did her recertification training, do I have a motion to approve? Oh, Scott, do I hear a second? John, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained, motion passed. Action is requested to approve a request from Mr. Valentine to continue with health insurance. We got that in our packet. Do I hear a motion to approve? Kathy, second, Lynn, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained, motion passed. Action is requested to approve section 3 combining our Lyme and TI varsity and JV football teams during the next school year. If students want to do that.
Do we know roughly how many kids are interested or just?
I
throwing it out there?
don't know.
I don't think we have any idea.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it before the next school year?
We typically do it just to have it on, so that the kids know that it's an option.
They recruit in the spring.
So
Yeah.
they start in August.
We have to resolve it in June or July.
No, once we do, this is just to see basically if they will give us permission. I think in the past, we had one student, that played.
Because we have to approve it and then it goes to the
It
board and
does,
they
and
have to
then-
approve it. And then,
Exactly,
yeah.
so it's a bit of a process, and it's just so that then our kids, we can announce it to the kids that it is an option. Mr. Davis may have received a request from a parent already, I don't know the answer to that.
Do I hear a motion to approve
Yes.
that, Kathy?
I'll second it.
Ray, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstained, motion passed. Action is requested to approve the equipment disposal from the business office.
Yes.
Mention that?
Yeah, so I believe it was maybe Debbie, maybe Miss Gibbons, I'm not sure. We received, I believe it's in your board packet, the list of the books. I had Heather contact Bullet School Solutions. She sent over all of the ISBNs. She looked on Chegg, Amazon, bookdeal.com, avebook.com, and no one wants to purchase the books. So we definitely looked at, reselling the books to make, some of that money back, but we were only able to sell one for $16.64. But they're paying for shipping, so
Oh, wow.
but yeah, so
How old are they?
I'm not sure. I'd have to get that information for
A
you.
lot of them showed that they were brand new.
The condition, the condition.
Well, some
Well,
said
yeah.
new, like new, others said straight new.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Heather about that. She's the one who actually handled the the process of the disposal.
Is
So
it the curriculum change and the books aren't
It
needed anymore?
is, yeah.
That's what happened.
yeah, and
Is
it's
this a
Chegg and
different
then,
grade level than the one we threw away for younger grades?
Mhm.
Yeah.
For science? This is the next middle class,
This is, I think Deb and Adrian did.
Oh yeah.
this.
so there's a new
Yes,
group of books
yes,
and their softwares.
Nobody
yes.
wants them.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're not-
Chegg and Amazon.
A lot of
usually
people
buy
aren't
everything.
And plus, a lot of people aren't using books
Well,
anymore.
they're
From my
very
experience,
outdated.
They're not even. using
Bullet said that they would buy 2, and they were quoting it at $1 a book, but they said it wasn't even worth their time and their shipping. So
They're not really doing tech.
yeah.
All right, so here a motion to approve that disposal. Lynn, do I hear a second? John, all in favor? Opposed, abstained, motion passed. Actions requested to approve the recommendations of the Committee of Special Education. Anybody?
Motion.
Scott?
I'll second.
All right, Ray, all in favor?
Right.
Opposed, abstained, motion passed. There's a principal's report from Mary. Then we'll move down to, Pat's.
Great. So I mentioned in my report that we are working on that interim assessment schedule that's coming out in January. We're devising some tests. We're gonna switch gears a little bit, try to use our iReady program to help us do that. So that'll be new for us, so we're looking forward to doing that. Again, the purpose of these interim assessments are just a quick pulse to see how well our students are adjusting and learning New York State standards. It's not nothing that's going to be graded or become a grade for our students. It's more information for our teacher to adjust curriculum so that we are more on target. Let's see. Be looking to schedule some professional development in the next couple weeks and into the new year for our reading series for our teachers that are new to Journeys, the reading series we're using in grades 4, 5, and 6. Amira is, you see on your list of board presentations, that'll be a presentation from Mrs. Trotty in April. We're really excited about Amira and getting used to using it. It's an avatar that does, in essence, tutoring in ELA and reading. So it'll listen to a student read and give feedback to that student. Wait till you see it, it's really cool.
That's right.
There it is, that's right. Our seniors are going to meet with some JCC representatives here soon, instant and midday. And 10th grade just recently had a virtual field trip to the BOE Tech Center. That went well.
I got feedback on that.
Did you?
Yes. I heard that was very good.
Good,
Yes.
good. Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they do over there.
Yep.
For our teachers, we had a request from our PDP committee to have our BOCE specialist, certification specialist, come out and talk about that 5-year mark to recertify, make sure that everybody does that so that we can keep teaching. So we're in good shape there.
That's for retired individuals as well. So you have to remember to go in and recertify. So even for myself, so my date is February, so I have to recertify by February. But I have to remember, so if I want to keep my New York State certification, I have to remember that at that 5-year time frame, 5 years from now, I have to go back in and recertify. So
We don't get anything from them that tells us that. Like, I don't know that.
I don't believe so. It is your responsibility.
Wow, I probably
No,
You have to
no.
do like central
Yeah, you guys are good at that. I'm on my own. I don't think I.
So just get on.
Actually, the teach stuff, if you're still in the teach system and active, they will send you a reminder.
So what do they have to do? I am on Teach, but I
Click the
button.
That's it? Yeah, it's.
Oh.
It'll say expired, or it'll say registered, active,
Right.
you'll see it. It'll
Just get
say-
in and look. And honestly, because this is fairly new, they're being lenient right now, so don't. Yeah. But it is, I mean, it is something that, it is new and from the training, they did tell us that, you know, if people don't do that, they will find themselves uncertified. And once you become uncertified, we experienced that with a staff member that we had here. You do not just, yeah, you start
That's what I was thinking of.
They don't-
She was bringing that
they
up,
don't
yeah.
just say, oh, you know, sorry, we made a mistake. Once they take that away, you do not get it back unless you go through all of the program
And if you decide to sub during retirement, you're not certified, you get a lot less.
That's right.
That's right. You think the long term here.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's good to know. I didn't have any idea of that. Yeah, I didn't know. All right, thank you.
Pat, would you share just a little bit about our meeting that we had with the teachers in
Oh,
regard to
yes.
the after school?
Absolutely.
Please.
So earlier this week, we met with interested, put out there, anyone interested that wants to help us plan for the after-school program that we wrote into one of the grants. And so we had a nice smattering of everybody that wanted to be there, from elementary teachers to special ed teachers to high school teachers and related arts folks. So it's a nice representation of our faculty. And so we wanted, there are parameters that we've outlined in the grant already, which are, we know we're looking at 2 days a week for an hour. We know that we're gonna need some teacher assistants to help us cover so that students that get out at 3 o'clock, our teachers aren't technically able to start until 3:25, so we need that coverage there. And of course, transportation. So we've written those things into the budget already. So we're looking at 2 buses, one going one way of the district, one another. That proved to be sufficient when we had the previous grant through Cornell Cooperative Extension that worked well. So we're thinking about, well, okay, so who are we talking about? What students do we need to be in this after school program? And we came up with listening to the teachers and what they're struggling with, kids that are on quarantine and just have multiple instances of quarantine and catching them up, or the students that are just struggling to keep organized. So kids that just haven't been in school for a while, even our little ones that are just need some social skills training. So there are some really good ideas that came out on how we could structure this. So for the elementary, it's gonna look completely different than middle school, high school. So our elementary teachers were talking about more like center-based social skills training and some ELA work, some math work, and then a wrap up kind of a thing. Middle school was more organization for half the time and more like a structured study hall, content-based for the rest, and the same for the high school, something more. We have ways to gauge where our students are struggling, from a failure list to our AIS list, and just our grade level meetings. There are similar names bounced around, so we have a good way to kind of earmark who, but just, and then turning that into how. So that was really, we're gonna meet again before break and try to tighten that up. Yeah. That'll be the
I'm
next
actually
meeting.
hearing a lot of, I don't know about just kindergarten in every single school district. Pretty much I have somebody that I know who teaches, and they're all struggling because these kindergartners didn't have any school last year, and their behavior, it's not even academics.
Yeah.
It's behavior, like,
It's
just
core
like,
strength, the sit
like
and the-
so bizarre
Crazy.
things people have never seen before, that the kindergartners in every school district are like, wow, we need to do something. So that whole group did not get any pre-K last year.
Right.
So that's a huge group, I know that, and that's gonna have an effect for the longevity.
Yeah.
For years to
Yeah,
come.
well, and that's why we're very happy to have our DPK
Oh
program.
my gosh, yeah,
This
me
year.
Made a huge difference.
You know, even though the class is small, you know, having those children go through the program will certainly benefit, you know, they'll be role models for their peers next year. Very, very important, so.
We're hoping to kick it off at the start of the second semester, which is the end of January, so it gives us some time to iron out the kinks and fine tune some things.
And the other thing I was gonna say about that is I've noticed talking to a lot of my former students got kindergarten jobs this year, so I just get a lot of. So one of the things that, I know there's some breaks in our presentations for months. One of the things, and I know we went from a part-time speech teacher to a full-time speech teacher. I think it would be really interesting to talk to those speech teachers, because I feel like in every district that students that I used to teach are saying that every school has been identified as needing speech. So what is I mean, we haven't ever really met the speech teacher. She used to be a BOCES employee, now she's our employee. I would like to hear from her on the effects that she sees from the last couple of years of not really having school and all that, and how she's trying to meet the needs of all of the students that need speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some breaks. I just think there's some breaks and we haven't really met her. I don't know.
Gotta be before April. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have some breaks.
Well,
I think there's a couple breaks in there that we didn't have.
yes,
covered
there are.
before that, but if you could do that, I would love to hear what.
Even if we could have 2 on, you know, one night, anyway, yeah.
It would have to be March.
Yeah, you'll be very impressed, she's.
Well, I just think
she is-
because we always had a
she is-
part-time, when we
Right.
went to a full-time and hired her as an employee, and I
Yeah.
don't think we've really met her and
She's
seen
phenomenal.
what her views of what our speech needs are at the school district. I think it would be really interesting to talk
Let it,
about.
there you go.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
all the difference.
So that was just
Yes.
something I thought today when I was looking at the rates that we had on speed. All right, any other questions for Pat?
Thank you.
Okay.
So I sent you my board report and I put a copy in here, but I just wanted to hit upon a couple things, make sure that you are aware. National Honor Society is tomorrow at 2. We did have a couple people request that we change that date because there were a couple kids in quarantine. So the advisors actually sent out a poll, if you will, to the families. And after getting that feedback back, some families had already taken time off work and such. So they decided to move ahead with that. But I just want to make sure everyone understands they are going to have a little ceremony after the fact for those students who missed. There's only a couple impacted, but they'll have a special ceremony for them as well after the fact. So that, if you want to get on and watch, you can certainly do that, and we would encourage that.
I know it's not the same as being there, but the students are going to be on Zoom thing.
I'm not sure how we would.
I know.
It's kind of late to coordinate that.
Yeah.
So probably not. I mean, that's a great idea. You know, maybe if we had a little bit more time, we could have done that, but I know. It is disappointing and I understand that, but our worry was also, and some of the parents expressed that what if next year there's more, you know, because we don't know when these quarantines are gonna end. So that's one thing I wanted to make sure. The other thing that I'm particularly excited about is if you saw about the church donating land, so they're donating land so that, and Terry, you might have more information on this. I think the state and the county is actually paying to widen the corner by 12E and Church Street. I'm telling you, that is a dangerous stop. Our buses have such a hard time going around there. The snow plows have a terrible time. And, you know, even if 2 cars, it's hard to fit just 2 normal sized cars there. So Pam Murray stopped by, actually she's been stopping in the cafeteria, and she was very excited to let me know that the church had donated the property. I believe I'm accurate, that the state and the county are actually paying for the project that could start as soon as this summer to widen that area. So that's something that we have needed, and they're going to tie into the sidewalk and the crosswalk and everything, and just hopefully make it much safer for our students and families, buses, snowplows. Yeah. So that's kind of some neat information. And if there's anything else you have questions about, please just let me know.
Just, I think we mentioned back a while ago about the junior honor society. Is that moving forward, or, I mean, it's gonna take a while, but
Yeah.
what's the status of that?
Yeah, they have been talking about it. There is interest in the staff.
Okay.
So we haven't, I mean, it's certainly not something that will probably start this year, but I think there is intent to start that next year.
Is that always like in other school districts, is that middle school, is that how it works? I don't know how,
I think it's
I was just had
7th, 8th
parents
grade.
approach me and said, you know, interested in getting a junior honor society, so I wasn't sure what grades that.
Yeah,
Think
seventh, eighth.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, and the
Great.
staff, I wasn't really sure, you know, what the staff, but the staff seemed very interested in moving forward with that as well.
All right, any other questions for Katie? All right, transportation, reports are in there, correspondence, anything else, anything anyone needs to bring forward? January 13th. Oh, January 13th meeting. All right, we'll keep moving forward. So board resolved, that the Lyme Central School District takes action on all these following appointments that were listed. Anyone have any questions, concerns, or is there a motion to approve? Lynn, do I hear a second? Scott, all in favor? Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Motion to approve the following personnel changes with the effective dates as listed below. Do I hear a motion to approve these changes? Kathy, do I hear a second? Okay. Terry did. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Everything, there's not gonna be an executive session. For the business. If there's no further business, do I hear a motion to adjourn this regular meeting? Is there a motion? Yes. Kathy and Scott? Oh, yeah. All in favor? Opposed, abstained. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a
Merry
wonderful holiday.
Oh, yeah,
We all have to sign this form from Ariana. So thank you everyone for attending, and we'll hope you all have a wonderful holiday.
You too.
Right here.